Hey, we are here, sir.
Good morning, everybody. It's time to rock and roll, and welcome to the Olympian Table.
Absolutely.
How you doing today, James? How's my buddy James?
I am doing well. I can't complain, man. This week has been.
Yeah, you've got to feel embarrassed by all that's gone on this week with some of these Republicans or publicans.
Hey, man. You know, I don't associate with them. But my views do line up with some of what they think. But I can't be responsible for the idiocy that I have seen. In some cases, I will deny affiliation until otherwise
proven guilty.
There you go. You got it. There you go. But yeah, it's been a run, man. I'm glad to be back here.
Has it been hot this week?
Oh man, it seems like August is one of those months where, for one, being in our area, Houston, kind of the hurricane alley, so to speak, because we're right here on the Gulf.
Hurricane alley.
But we get past June, we get past July, and then when you get into August, man, if you think back on Ike and some of the Rita and what's the last Harvey, those are all about around this time.
One thing, the y'all defense of Texas. You know, when I was home in the UK the other week, it was a little bit on the hot side, and there's no air conditioning.
Really?
Absolutely.
What do you use, window units
so
or what?
It'll fix you. No, it's called a fan.
Oh.
Exercise your arm.
Yeah.
But honestly, no air conditioning. The only air conditioning you get is probably in your car. But, you know, it's a little bit on the hot side. And I'll never forget back in 1976, and the only place you could really go, but I'm glad I was in it at the time, was the ice rink. Everybody was going to the ice rink just to cool off. There's no air conditioning anymore. So when you have a hot spell, sweating time.
Okay, so to that point, in the ice rink, how are they keeping it cool?
Through air conditioning.
Okay, so they had. That's
part of the
the
cooling process. Obviously, you know, if they can keep the humidity out of the air, and if they can keep moisture out of the air, then it's easier to, keep the ice.
Well, I guess there's a lot of older architecture over in that area, so my assumption would be.
What do you mean 1400?
Hey,
you think that's
it's there.
1400?
There's no AC back then, but I'm guessing if they build a new place or a new building, that they're installing some type of air conditioner to keep the place cool.
Buildings that actually last. They're not disposable. They sort of last
for a while. Yeah, absolutely.
But I tell you, the hotel we stayed in was built in.
The hotel
that we stayed in when we went to Solihull, West Midlands.
Really? Man, that's interesting, because that is
And we can't pass our infrastructure bill.
Well, it passed the House yesterday, so fingers crossed. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. So I guess, shoot, in that same vein, man, we're.
I don't want to get left behind by China and all the other.
Oh yeah, man. Well, we're already behind with those guys, but you know, it is what it is.
We need to spend some on infrastructure, especially our broadband.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see us.
Being here in Texas, you know, we dealt with our power grid down during the freeze.
What power grid?
The power grid. The power grid of Texas, you know.
Is this the one that failed in February and now it's failing again?
Well,
is that the one we're talking about?
So that one
is that the one that's sort of led by our Republican governor, Mr. Abbott?
That's the one we're talking about. So there's been, you know, every once in a while we might get a notification, hey, dial back your energy usage, blah, blah, blah. Well, we got that a few days ago, and they've since reversed that, and they don't expect that it's going to be such a record.
Come on. Greg Abbott does not reverse anything
I'm
that he
just saying,
says.
They said that the forecast was dialed back a bit, that, you know, the power demand isn't forecasted to be as much as it was going to be.
Is this the global warming that's not happening?
Well, I don't know. Is that even real?
Global warming?
Yeah.
I think.
Well, many do. I'm not here to argue it. I'm not versed enough to talk about it. But what I do know is that it gets warm in my house.
It's warmer. So if it's getting warmer
at times, and I have to turn on the air conditioner, and I will not be governed by anyone telling me I can't turn on my AC to keep it cool.
Agreed.
So hey, if you're depending on me to help with the demand on power, I am not dependable at all. Because I will be using
all
my air
that
conditioner.
says is at the end of the day, I mean, at least we're one step better than the UK. We've got air conditioners in our house. Even if we haven't got the electric to fire up the AC.
This is true. This is true. But, I think people that lost the most in that, and I was hearing stories, I don't know if you heard about it. Some of those people, you have the option, of course, Texas being a mainly deregulated state, of choosing your power company. And for those folks that were not locked in on a rate, so to speak, they were at the mercy of whatever it was at that time. And people were getting $5,000-$6,000 power bills because they were not locked in on a price. And that sucks for them. But nevertheless, I think with this hurricane season that we're coming upon, we got to be ready for a possibility of the power being out again.
First, whenever we get the hurricane, people will go out there and they panic and they buy everything up and they just make it worse. They only not to make it worse.
Well, you got to be prepared, but I think folks it's the media panic. I think that's what adds to it.
Well, with bringing in that, I want to sort of mix one thing in. I just want to say that I didn't know COVID, when you had, COVID scare, how that put a run toilet paper. I guess it must have given.
You didn't hear about that?
I guess it must have given us all the runs to the fact where we needed that toilet paper.
Man, toilet paper was scarce. Now, where we live, there's not a grocery store close to us, so we buy in bulk anyways. So I wasn't really out in any danger.
You got a big butt.
One or the other, right? I say both. But we weren't in any danger of losing the toilet paper. But man, when I tell you, when I went to just go and look, toilet paper was gone. Toilet paper.
I couldn't believe it. I went to Sam's and I'm like,
oh yeah, it was a line. I mean, it was ridiculous.
There's a lot of people who've got the runs out there.
They do. And I guess folks, I don't know. I don't know what it is with the toilet paper and paper towels and all that jazz. But nevertheless, man, we're hoping that during this season, do you have a generator?
Oh, we actually have two.
Really?
One that works and one that you're going to fix.
Man, hey, well, if you only got one that works, then you have one. But you got to get that thing. Got to get a generator, man.
We bought a generator, and then I sort of inherited one from somebody else. Somebody asked to left me one. So,
well, that's cool.
I haven't got time. I'd rather just put.
Well, just this week, actually last week, we went ahead and got the transfer switch installed on the house.
I want to get one of these Generac things. It's supposed to be really good.
They are really good.
And I think it adds value to the property, being involved in real estate as well. And I really think that Generac thing.
They're expensive though.
But you said you got some, like a competitor?
Well, Generac, they put in the standby generators, and Duramax is the generator that I purchased, which is it's a competitor. You've got different ones, Kohler and Generac.
So when the electric goes
Duramax.
off, the gas cuts on? Is that one?
For the Generac, it's connected to your gas.
One you bought, is it? Or it's just a gasoline?
It runs on propane or gasoline,
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a neat idea.
Yeah.
I really do.
But it works. But yeah, so we're just going to get ready to be prepared for what's coming.
So as you tell me all the time, Jay, tell me about these falls with the Texas grid forecast, because they report a power demand as you say, these falls.
Well, that's it. I mean, the time that it comes in and it says that we've got to dial back on our usage because they're anticipating that it's going to be a heavy load on the grid. They send out these alerts, and then of course they have to send it to us.
Have you lost any power?
Not since the freeze.
We lost power at the house.
Well, they were doing some rolling blackouts afterwards.
The bill too long.
Oh, hey, that's a different kind of problem.
I go to the UK and forgot.
That's not ERCOT's problem. That would be somebody else's problem if that was the issue. But nevertheless, man, the demand that may be ahead for us was supposed to be really, really great because it's been so hot.
Come on, let's look at solutions to the problem. Is it solution to the problem because we had a problem February? Or is it a problem of what we've got at the moment, where we haven't got at the high end, when it gets a little warm side, we haven't got the capacity, or is it a competent habit that side? Or do you think there's another solution to the problem? Everybody needs to get out there and vote.
Well, we already know that, right? That's always going to be my thing. You got to get out and vote. I think some of these large industrial and commercial customers that also have a heavy load on the grid, I think it's a responsibility for them to kind of dial back on some of that stuff before consumers.
Is it corporate America's duty to fill the void?
No, I'm not talking about corporate America. We're in the area where you got a bunch of plants. You got oil and gas here. I'm talking about those guys, those industrial guys, chemical plants that have a heavy load on the grid. I think they should take the hit by dialing back before a resident does. That makes more sense to me rather than you turning off your electric.
Do you think it's corporate America's job to put into our infrastructure? Because that's really what it is. It's an infrastructure, a planning problem, isn't
it? Was it before February?
Do you think our grid should be? Well, no, but that's what brought it to everybody.
Sure.
But a lot of people didn't even realize there was a problem.
They didn't. A lot of folks didn't even know we were on our own separate grid before February.
Do you think we should still be on our own separate?
Absolutely. Well, we're the largest state in the contiguous union. So there's a greater demand.
That's a big word for this time of the morning.
Well, we can't exclude Alaska, even though they're larger in landmass. People don't live on half of the state, but we have a lot of people here. So I think the demand, the deal with it is, though, the agreements with the neighboring grids, I think they weren't in place or they weren't exercised. So when ours was down, we couldn't lean on a Louisiana.
Do you not think it would be a better plan for us to have some sort of agreement with other states?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what wasn't utilized as much in these other places. So we couldn't lean on these other states like we should have to be able to, hey, man, I'm down.
I definitely agree
and do it. Because in Texas, I don't know if it's for every other state, we have these municipal utility districts, these MUDs. And the way that the MUDs work, if they're neighboring, they usually have an agreement with each other. Hey, if our water pumps go down, we'll lean on yours and we'll get some water to our residents so people aren't going without water. I think that should exist for anything.
I just think the United States are not very. A bit more.
I think I've said this
and
before.
Sort of, help one another a bit more for resources and stuff, because I think it's about to get UK talking about global societies being a bit more, believe it or not.
Really?
Really good.
The houses?
Yeah.
I'd like to see a picture of that.
I will get one.
It gets a little too hot around here for your house to be made out of plastic bottles.
No. Because it's actually a good insulator.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
Also, I will show you something. Just developed Europe.
Now, that doesn't surprise me because they've done that with guns. So I know that it's possible.
I reckon that could be an option for, they're going to use a 3D printed house on perhaps help.
Plastic bottle house.
No,
okay.
no.
Oh,
3D printed.
Oh, the 3D printed house.
3D
okay,
printed house made out of.
Okay, I got you.
So, but also there are some nuts. bottles.
Oh yeah.
So what's the answer once again to the Texas
The power
electric
demand
problem?
Hey man, just turn your lights off. Turn your lights off. Whenever you can, just try to consume less energy when you can, with the exception of the AC. Because I'll sit in a dark house with the AC on before I turn my AC off. I just can't do it. Can't do it.
We just had our AC fixed.
It was like a different place, huh?
Oh, it's cold now.
That's good.
Now I have to put it on because it's so cold. I
That's
told my wife
good.
the other day, I'm not used to this being so cold.
Well, cool.
So let's move on to your favorite number one person, Laura Ingraham.
Laura Ingraham, not my favorite person, but he did expose your favorite person, Nancy Pelosi.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, Miss Nancy Pelosi. You know, I think she's everybody's favorite person.
Of course she is.
So she's in the Carolina District 12, excuse me, which includes San Francisco. Okay. Say what you will about San Francisco. It's got some beautiful things there. Golden Gate Bridge.
I've only been there once.
Oh, really? Okay.
A long time ago.
We went to a little cafe called Mom's Cafe or Mama's Cafe or something. Delicious breakfast food there. But nevertheless, this is her stomping ground. This is Nancy Pelosi's stomping ground. And man, this video, I found it, and it just kind of goes through just kind of the decline of the area.
The housing crisis.
Well, it's not just even housing. It's just the people, period. The poverty that's there. In this area called the Tenderloin District. Now, there's a comedian that he talked about being in San Francisco and being in this Tenderloin District and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why they call it the Tenderloin District, but nevertheless, the poverty that's there is immense. And this video kind of talks a little bit about it. So check it out and see what your girl Laura Ingraham has to say.
I'm here tonight in San Francisco, and remember, it's Nancy Pelosi's congressional district for more than 3 decades.
30 years.
Wouldn't you kind of think that the hometown of the House Speaker would be a desirable and safe place to live? She's worth hundreds of millions of dollars herself, after all. But the reality here is much darker. Since 2019, homicides have risen 30%, burglaries shot up 51%, and the homelessness situation, you can't really describe it. You have to see it. Same thing with drug abuse, rampant. So I went down to the Tenderloin District today, and I spent some time with some of San Francisco's finest.
Now, as she's talking to this guy,
Association President
watch
Tony
the background. It was just kind of funny when I noticed it. There's a lady in the background that kind of pops up.
To these destructive policies of the DA, Chesa Boudin.
A lot of the violent crimes are up because of Chesa Boudin's policies. It's a catch and release. I've said he's got the swiftest revolving door in the criminal justice system, where it's a small group of people committing these crimes again and again and again, and they're doing so because they realize as long as Chesa Boudin's in office, there are no consequences for their bad behavior. There's people laying out all over the place. Just a minute ago,
right here,
where this white van is parked, there was a gentleman sitting on the sidewalk in broad daylight with kids playing on the playground smoking crack cocaine right here by the police department.
So the police station is here, and crack cocaine is there, and
30
the
feet
school
away.
is right here.
Yeah. And they do so knowing that for some reason, if they were to get caught, there's going to be zero consequences for their behavior.
Zero consequences for smoking crack. 25 yards from the police.
Absolutely.
And 25 yards from the school.
Right. Once they get hooked on the drugs, it's just kind of a downward spiral.
It's a
Is
spiral.
that a coke problem or a drug problem?
Man, both. A combination of the two.
With $1 billion a year for all the different nonprofits and services.
And in the video, it's like 5 minutes long. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but primarily what I was getting at is they interviewed some of the people as they kind of went through this. We, as America, back to your point, we're not as united. You got these people. You got a lady that can't put her coat on, and it's probably San Francisco is a little cooler than Southern California, but probably not even cold weather up there. But these folks are on the street. The area is littered with all types of, crimes and such. But we're sending money outside the country to handle business that's not ours.
As
and
in
we got
Afghanistan.
Yeah. And we
agree
got
with you
folks
more.
right here that need our help.
Couldn't agree with you more.
That part, it's
I couldn't agree with
saddening
you more,
to me.
but
It just makes...
As I said to you last time, Africa, not only for 2 to 3 years,
move your mic up.
2 to 3 old in a. I really think it's time for America to sit back, and they need to start investing in community projects. But I think even investing in community projects, they need to be monitored and budgeted.
Oh, of course.
And that's the biggest difference, I think, over here to over Europe. There's a lot more community projects in Europe to help communities. They are budgeted an awful lot better.
I can believe that.
And that's
sad.
one of the reasons why I think there's a lot of people that basically over in the States, they don't believe in community projects because they think the money is always going to go missing or it's not going to be used for the sources that it should be doing. And I really think it's a true government responsibility, no matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Absolutely. When you see that kind of stuff, the party shouldn't matter. I mean, these are human.
No, I 100% agree
and I
with that.
agree with that people don't think the money goes where it needs to go.
But with that being said, is that a Nancy Pelosi problem, or is that the whole thing with the police, to be perfectly honest, if the police arrest people, what do they do with them?
Well,
have they got the spaces? Have they got anywhere to put them? What do they do with them? And this is one of the big problems that I feel that the police get blamed for. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of the reasons why they should have voted for the infrastructure bill, is because a lot of the times the police are getting involved with community projects and not policing. And I think there needs community projects out there. There needs to be community projects. Some of these basketball players, they do incredible work. They do. Some of these baseball players that get involved with their local communities, I feel, do so much to sort of help mentor, some of these communities. And unfortunately, that's what it is. If you haven't got that community involvement, then what do kids turn to?
Oh, I agree with you.
They turn to drugs and they turn to everything else because they don't have that. They have peer pressure, but in the wrong type of peer pressure.
I agree with you.
And I say all the time when people turn around to me and they say, well, how did you manage to do Olympics? It's because I watched John Curry, win an Olympics back in 1976. And when I watched him and I said, that's what I want to do, and I had the motivation to try and get as close as I could to what he
was doing, yeah.
Got to have that initial motivation. And unfortunately, I think the negative, I understand what you're saying about Pelosi, and you can always do more, and I'm not saying Pelosi is perfect, far from it, to be perfectly honest. But the truth of the matter is, when you've got two sides both pulling either way, then you get the people in between, and they're the ones that are really paying the price.
Oh no, I agree, and I guess for
I personally think there needs to be three parties, because that way it'll get rid of all of that.
Plot twist: there are three parties, but they don't get the support.
They don't get the same.
They don't. They really don't. But yeah, I mean, not saying that the country's problems are on Nancy Pelosi, because she doesn't pull the trigger on whether we go to Afghanistan or not, but her congressional district, you would think, would be in a better position.
No, I agree. I agree. But it's not just that. There's a lot of. If you just drive down Houston, and it's embarrassing to me at times when I'm showing houses for somebody who's new to the area, and here we've got people who are under the bridges, and I feel for them. All right. Are you helping them when you're giving them dollars? I don't think so. Because a lot of them have, drug issues.
Problems,
and
absolutely.
and I really feel you're better off giving it to different organisations, Star of Hope and such like. And it's very, very difficult, and it's not a good look for the city, but at the same time, we need to help people. There needs to be better.
Yeah, when it comes to people, we got to blur the party lines. It didn't matter. Didn't do anything just based on someone affiliated with a certain
So next
party.
time you're coming round, you're voting for the Green Party.
I can't. I plead the fifth.
Why is that? Because, it's wind, and when the wind stops, the electric stops. Is that it?
No. Speaking of parties, man, we talked a little bit about your favorite guy, Governor Abbott.
Oh, I thought you meant Mr. Trump.
No. I know Trump's probably your second favorite, but Governor Abbott, who's governor of Texas, of course, has been challenged by Alan West, who happens to be also a Republican, a former Republican.
Who's got a
chairman.
really cool wife.
Right. Yeah. But
she's a really party goer.
In all senses of the word. So Alan West threw his hat.
It's just your typical Republican wife.
Hey, who knows, right? We can't be responsible for that. But
What do you mean? What do you mean we can't be responsible? You're not responsible for your wife.
Well, you are responsible.
You can't
for your
cancel
wife.
your wife. You can't support one another.
Absolutely can. But Alan West, of course, for those that don't know, threw his hat in the ring to say he was going to challenge Governor Abbott in the gubernatorial race.
Thank the
for
Lord.
Texas.
Somebody's challenging Mr. Abbott.
It would be another option, right? Same party, but obviously folks are kind of fed up. His wife was pulled over in Dallas. I think it was Dallas for DWI, and she had her grandchild in the car with her, and they arrested her. That is such an unfortunate circumstance to happen. But in doing that, Mr. West has come out and said that he thinks they deserve an apology for the way that she was arrested and handled. Now, I'm not quite sure when you're rich if you're arrested differently. Or
Is Alan West is Alan West a wealthy guy?
Well, I mean, I feel like if you stay in this game,
How much is it
long
worth?
enough, you get money. Who knows? We can look it up. We can look.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Because he was in the Army. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Army, retired.
Well, that ain't a very well-paying job, is it?
Well, you get paid for pretty handsome in there, but he's part of government now. So
No, it's $100,000.
well, it says $100,000 to $1 million.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a different guy.
Oh, that's Spithead.
Who knows what he's worth? Was that $5 million? Did it say $5 million? I don't know. Who knows what he's worth? But he wanted an apology, and that video.
He wanted the police to apologize.
Yeah, let's see what he says.
Well, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's the one that wanted to defund the police? I thought you said that was the Dems, but it's not. He just doesn't want to defund them. He wants an apology.
I think it was Cory Bush that wanted to. He's a Democrat. He wanted to defund the police.
From the Bush family?
Well, no, she's a black woman. Let's see what this.
I don't think we should defund the police by.
Hey, greetings and good Sunday morning to everyone out there. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of you who sent your prayers, your thoughts, your encouragement, your emails, your text messages, your phone calls to support my wife Angela in the ordeal that she went through. And I'm still very upset, very livid about what happened. And so I just want to share with you some things. Right here in my hands are the receipts. These are the receipts from the dinner that Angela had Friday night at PF Chang's in North Park Mall. And it shows that she had a lemonade, and of course with the complimentary water. And you can see on these receipts that it's time-stamped at 8:05 p.m., this receipt. Now, we're going to post it out there for all of you to see. But of course, my wife Angela was stopped by a black female Dallas police officer, L. Harris, badge number 11792, for not using a turn signal to change lanes. When was the last time anyone was stopped for not using a turn signal to change lanes? Unless you caused an accident. I got it. But just to stop someone for that. And then my wife was forced out of her car because this person, Officer L. Harris, badge number 11792, is part of a Dallas Police Department DUI unit, state granted funded, so that they can go out and troll the streets and looking for people.
You know, she's the one holding the phone too.
innocent.
They're like in this together. So like you get them.
In order to continue the funding that they have. My wife voluntarily, as a good citizen, got out of the car, participated in the field sobriety test. When she was asked to blow repeatedly, nothing came up on the breathalyzer because all she had was a water and a lemonade. But yet, my wife was arrested, handcuffed, brutally handcuffed, and charged initially, arrested under suspicion of DUI. From what? She didn't do anything with a breathalyzer. And then all of a sudden,
That lemonade must have been strong.
Hey, you know, it might have been a hard lemonade. You know,
Because obviously now you have to try to see if you can drum up charges for my wife taking drugs. My wife was charged with
here's
driving while
where
intoxicated with
where I am with it.
Go on, I want to say
heard
something to that. Go on then.
My grandson Jackson was in danger by being
Who
left
was that?
in the
Who was
car,
that? Who was that?
which is a couple
Go
of
on. Monsignor.
Well, here's the thing. He's a famous guy. People know him. His wife got arrested. I don't know what people. I honestly, I'm not defending the police officers, but I think they get dealt a bad hand sometimes because it's kind of like, what were they supposed to do if someone is in, suspicion of drinking? He didn't know what the receipt said. She did something to bring the attention to her. Now, I haven't seen the video that was released, but apparently there is a video that's out there on how she was handled. But she did the test, the sobriety test that supposedly she failed. She did the breathalyzer, which they said was inconclusive because she wasn't blowing in it correctly. And then she did the blood test. Now, they haven't released the results of the blood test, but for me, that would be the end all to be all, because we can say, hey, well, she didn't have any any alcohol in her blood.
I just want to say one thing to this.
Let's tell us.
I have been stopped for no signal. I've been pulled over by the police for a no signal at a stop sign.
We all know that you're a rebel, so.
So I just want to point that out, that people do get stopped for not having a turn signal.
Yeah, it happens.
And then the other thing I just want to say is, I do feel at times there is a problem with the police, but at the same time, I feel the police take a rough hack of the situation. Now, by Texas law, you have to have a reason to stop somebody, correct?
Correct.
And then, do you have to identify yourself?
If, as I understand it, because I'm no lawyer, but as I understand it, if you're under the suspicion of a crime and you have told them that this is the crime that they're under suspicion of, then that's when identification can come in. But if you're just pulling me over, oh, well, somebody made a call, blah, 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 but you haven't said I committed a crime, then you don't have to identify. But in the case of a DWI, where you're doing a test, you're blowing in the breathalyzer, doing a blood test, that kind of stuff, my assumption would be that all of that would be gone.
One of the things I can't understand about this gentleman is, if you're doing a test for DWI, how can it then be suspicion of
Well, I mean, I guess you're innocent until proven guilty. We're still suspicious of it. We just don't have the proof that you are.
So until he goes to court, basically guilty.
Still not guilty. Charged, but not guilty.
So perhaps if he goes to court, if his wife's gets charged, DWI
Right.
then maybe at that time, but there again, I don't think necessarily the court's job to apologize to him because his feelings are hurt.
Well, I think that's what it boils down to. Hey, I shouldn't be arrested. So Texas law only requires that you show ID to a police officer under certain circumstances after you've been arrested, and when you are driving, and when you're carrying a handgun. So there you go. When you're driving, you gotta show your ID because, of course,
But they have to have a reason to stop you, don't they?
reason to stop you. Correct. But if you're driving, I can say that are you licensed to drive or operate this vehicle? And showing me your license is
License and insurance.
exactly
It's a very, finding a reason to pull someone over is very easy.
very easy.
I could just be doing a welfare check on you.
Yep.
You were at that red light for 2 seconds too long. I was just making sure you're not passing out at the wheel, even though I'm trying to clock you for
Absolutely.
texting.
Absolutely. So I don't know. I still have to see the video.
The part that I feel a bit confused about with this situation is here he is asking for an apology, and here he is looking to be voted into a public office where indirectly he's responsible, I guess, to a certain degree for, the police officers and directing the police officers. Yet, is he using this as a way of, well, I want special treatment?
I don't know. I think the worst part about this is that he leaked the officer's full name and her badge number.
Yeah, he doxed him for real.
And I think what that was intended to do is not so you can go and look and see what this person did. Intimidate is an understatement. It's more of, here's their entire, basically, undoubtful information.
Right.
Go harass them for being a bad cop or whatever. That's just weird to me. He knows that people are going to watch this video.
I just put a link in the Discord chat that where he was on Twitter. Where basically, he was kind of saying, they're releasing grandmas, but they're releasing the criminals, but they're arresting grandmas. This out.
And I got to tell you, I'm highly pissed off right now. It's a little bit about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was down in Waco, Texas, having dinner with Ted Nugent and some other people. And I got back to Dallas to find out that someone had arrested my wife, Angela. And she had my grandson, Jackson, in the back seat of the car and charged her with, quote unquote, suspected DUI. And now I'm down here to Dallas County Jail. They won't allow me to see Angela. They're saying that there's nothing I can do. They will not allow me to see a
Sounds like special treatment to me.
Angela, and I've talked to people that had dinner with her at PF Chang's here in Dallas. She had water and lemonade. But the thing that upsets me the most is that they took my wife, arrested her, and brought her to jail, and left my grandson.
This situation, how it's
with
different
2
from
Dallas police officers.
Some 17-year-old black kid
Luckily,
in the hood.
they
You know
were
what
able
I'm
to get
saying?
in contact
And
with
that's my thing. It's like,
who was able to go and pick
where
up Jackson from 2
in what
police officers on the side of the
realm
road.
of reality
This
do
is
they
crap.
let anyone back to see anyone? It's like, bro, they're arrested. You can't go back there.
Right.
Are you an attorney? Okay, then nah, you can't go back there, dude. It's not a hospital. You can't go. And I think these I don't know. Sometimes you're in a class, an elite class, where you feel, and I'm not saying that that's them, like you might be above the law. This may come out to be an egregious act on this cop.
Right.
But as of right now, did he follow procedure for anyone else, like me, driving down the street?
Can the police win, though, with this situation? I mean, everybody seems to be focused on the police. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. It's so difficult.
It's hard to win.
They're in a very, very difficult situation.
They are.
And I really think part of the biggest problem, I'm using it just to compare with the UK, but I mean, the police in the UK don't do as much community work as what the police over here do. When I was doing all the foreclosures, the police were on the front line. And personally, I felt so sorry for them. With guns all the way around the corner, you never know whether they was doing a foreclosure and there was somebody there with a gun and it was going to turn into a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, they was in a very, very difficult situation. Very, very difficult.
I mean, it's funny, and I know it was further down our list, but I know, Jack, we had on there that guy, was it in Alabama? The cop got 25 years. You may as well talk about that since we're in the same vein with this stuff. And there's actually a couple of things. Cop was sentenced to 25 years and killing the suicidal guy. I guess they let everybody know that he was calling for help, that this guy was suicidal, and shot him. Rolled up on the dude and just shot him dead.
Yeah.
Let's get the details on that.
Blown up by 100 different.
25 years in prison in connection with the 2018 murder of a suicidal man.
Oh, he deserves it.
There we go.
Why does it say former Alabama cop?
Well, he got this happened in
quit?
2018.
Did he quit or?
49-year-old Jeffrey Lewis Parker. 911 was called, and he was with a gun, and the guy was saying that he was going to blow his brains out, basically.
So he decided to blow his brains out.
So he ended up doing it for him, right?
Yeah. So there were already two people on scene.
Two cops already on scene
before he shows up.
Okay. So you get to a situation, you're coming in, and you're the third guy on the scene. When you get there, you see that I'm there, Jack's there. We've got this guy kind of, calm down. He hasn't killed himself yet. You roll up. What do? You shoot him dead. It's like you would think someone would ask questions. Hey, Jack.
Shoot him and send him the bill later.
So what's going on with this guy? Or hey, James, what's going on with him? You're the third person, but this is where the cops kind of fall back, and it's like, man, you can't really get behind them because it's like, man, why did you roll up on this guy and just shoot him dead?
Right.
It's hard to get. It's hard to. I don't know, man. It's hard to get behind that.
Did he send him the bill later and say?
It was the bill. It was a funeral bill because dude is gone.
But that goes back to exactly what I was saying about the police. Are they there to police, or are they there to act as a community force?
Well,
that really is the question for so much in America at the moment. I think the police, because they're first in line, they end up doing community policing, which has worked in some areas, but then it's a different level of expertise.
I don't know, man. I think where people get so upset about it is that these guys kind of get a pass sometimes.
These are the people, to me, that get the pass.
Oh, well, they do.
They've got money, and then they get attorneys to fight it, and then they don't live by the same laws.
I support the thing.
As the people on the street that are just trying to make a living and get by.
Sure. Not to make this a cop bashing session, but there was another guy in Louisiana, a trooper, that beat this dude with his maglite flashlight, just kind of broke his jaw and beat him down. What was that?
This is the link. I just clicked it.
Has it been really? It's gone?
Yeah.
Hold on. I thought I clicked it. It came up for me. Hold up. Let me make sure. I put it in the.
Okay, yeah, it came up.
You got it?
I pasted it wrong.
Okay. I was about to say.
There's no way they removed it.
Okay, so this guy, now you can see it's a lot of camera movement around, but you can see in this video this dude repeatedly hitting this guy with his
Newly released.
His flashlight. I mean, viewer discretion advised.
We'll skip the part.
Yeah.
We'll go up to
Body
that.
camera footage reveals a brutal encounter between Louisiana police and a black driver. Video of the incident first obtained by the Associated Press.
Yeah, that was quick.
It was.
A few questions just jumped on
times in the head and
me, y'all. I thought I was gonna die.
Brown then hits him in the ribs and pins his head to the ground using the flashlight.
I'm not fighting you. You are. You fight me.
Bowman could be heard moaning afterwards in pain, telling officers he's a dialysis patient.
I'm on dialysis, man. You hurt me.
The beating left him with a broken jaw, wrist, and 3 ribs, and a gash to his head requiring 6 staples to close. The wounds to his arm also affected his dialysis treatment.
Hit me with that flashlight, and it did something.
He pulled over
to where
for
I couldn't get no treatment to it.
Brown claims Bowman struck an officer and said his actions were known as pain compliance to get Bowman into handcuffs. He resigned in March. On Wednesday, the Louisiana State Police Department issued a statement saying, in part, that Brown engaged in excessive and unjustifiable actions and intentionally mislabeled his body camera video. Investigators called his failure to report the incident
and that's
an
the problem.
intentional attempt to hide
This
the video
happened.
from any administrative review. Brown
Let's see, this
is charged
happened,
with second-degree battery and malfeasance. He also faces state charges for violent arrests involving 2 other black motorists. Bowman faces charges too, including battery of an officer, which he denies.
May
His
19th.
attorneys have brought a civil suit against
It was
him.
a traffic stop.
Federal
It
investigators.
was a traffic stop
in
for him.
connection with allegations
Now, mind you, this guy,
of
this cop,
police
shall I
brutality
say,
in LSP.
he had, according to the article when I read it, he had already had 23 other incidents, use of force incidents, dating back to 2015, 19 of them being against black people on his record. So
Why isn't that knowledge more open?
Because it's a fraternity. It's a fraternity where they
that
keep
information should be open.
I agree. As an originator, and probably as a real estate agent as well. If y'all do something and there's an offense, I'm sure there's a record to say, hey, it'll go against your record.
It's public knowledge.
It's in there. Same with us. If there's an offense against our license, it shows up where it can be looked up to see
and
what.
It goes back to
was
accountability
on.
again. That's really what it goes down to.
And I don't know, man. They kind of get a pass with that piece of it, and I can't get behind that. And I'm not the one to say that all cops are bad, but because of this kind of thing, where here we are 2 years later, just hearing about this and the video just coming out,
Well,
and
we do.
this guy's a repeat offender.
We do HOA management, and we've got some HPD folks who stay on our properties, and they help us no end. So, I want to reach out to them. We've got some HPD folks, and we've got some sheriff who work for the Harris County Sheriff's Department, and they go above and beyond sort of help our communities. And it just saddens me when you see, the odd few that really don't help everybody's cause.
I agree with you. Gives them a bad name.
So come on, now let's get on to the next part, which I'm going to enjoy.
Will you?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick blames unvaccinated black folks for the spread of COVID in the state of Texas.
Yeah, man. There's no defense. I mean, quite frankly.
The black folks or for Dan Patrick?
No, for Dan Patrick. Because quite frankly.
State because the
we could be, but it does not age well on here at all. We'll watch the clip and then we can discuss it from there.
Coming after your state really quickly here, and as a response, coming after your state because the increased COVID numbers, hospitalizations, deaths are up in Texas, and there's a direct assault on your governor's policies and your state's policies. Very brief response.
Yeah. Well, Laura, the COVID is spreading, particularly most of the numbers are with the unvaccinated, and the Democrats like to blame Republicans on that. Well, the biggest group in most states are African Americans who have not been vaccinated. The last time I checked, over 90% of them vote for Democrats in their major cities and major counties. So it's up to the Democrats to get, just as it's up to Republicans, to try to get as many people vaccinated. But we respect the fact that if people don't want the vaccination, we're not going to force it on them. That's their individual right. But in terms of criticizing the Republicans for this,
but if
we're
you don't want to get
encouraging
vaccinated,
people who want to take it to take it,
you
but
decide.
they're doing nothing for the
African
American community that has a significant high number of unvaccinated.
Bring it on.
I'm not going to defend. I can't defend it. Here's the big.
Excuse me. Have you been vaccinated, James?
No.
Have you been vaccinated?
No.
Okay.
Have not.
So Dan Patrick blames you.
Well, he does, apparently. Here's my problem with this.
I know,
first thing that
and I know
made
you don't vote for the Dems.
Here's my first issue was he made it a Republican and Democrat kind of issue, right? And quite frankly, I think that's the biggest problem right now. We've made it a party issue. If it's about safety,
we. What do you mean we?
Everybody.
Mr. Trump didn't make it that way?
We got to be in there. Man, I have a video clip that I can show. I'm going to share it with that, man, it's just... Anywho, we'll show it in a second.
Drop in the Discord.
The issue that I have with it is that he made it a party issue, and then of course he went to the African American stuff, which that statistic may be true. It just sounds terrible for him to put it that way, because quite frankly, if I've been in Texas since the '80s, Texas is 74% white, and 12%.
But that's dropping,
black.
That is dropping.
Well. Whether it's dropping or not, that's a whole lot of people.
3/4 is still...
Yeah, that's a lot of what's in Texas. But here's the thing, 12% black. So even if it was on black people, and they pale in comparison when it comes to the population. But it just wasn't a great thing to say. I think he was trying to quote statistics, and they're probably right. But it just doesn't look good at all, man, for him to say that as a lieutenant governor of this state. It's a great state that I love so much with all my heart. Carry on, sir.
As Judge Judy said, I rest my case.
You rest your case?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he should have ever said that. I don't think he was, you know, thinking. And I think indirectly, I just don't think it's...
He was emotional.
You know, well, but I mean, my father used to say, put your brain into gear before opening gob. And, you know, that's the part that I feel is so wrong when you've got somebody... That's one of the reasons why we're so dysfunctional, to be perfectly honest. You know, and the part that's interesting is, and I'm sorry to go on about Europe all the time, but when I went back to Europe, all right, what's interesting is my best friend, all right, back in the 70s, his name was Singh. But because of the racialism that was there in the 70s, his father changed his name to Mark Phillips. And it was a little bit like, you know, my wife, whose name is, you know, Fee Wynn, changed her name to Carolyn Wynn back in the 70s. So obviously there was an error of stereotyping people, is the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. But when I go back to England now and I see an Indian-looking guy talking with a Birmingham accent, it sort of makes me feel good, and it makes me feel, well, one, because I haven't been across for such a long time, it's sort of hard to accept, but I'm glad to accept it because I know that they're being integrated into the society.
Sure. Glad you are, because a lot of the folks over there are not.
They are.
No.
They are.
I think because you're here, and especially being in Houston, which is a very diverse city, you can appreciate it, but some folks they don't embrace it as freely, unfortunately.
But you know, quite honestly, it gives me reassurance when I see that happening. And when I was across to England, it was funny. There's an area that they have, which is an Indian area with some really fine Indian restaurants. And they're driving Mercedes and they're parking their car, sort of, because parking's a problem over there, but they're parking halfway on the sidewalk. You know, half of it's hanging on the street. But it's just really interesting to sort of see. But I personally, I don't see that, you know, over here as much. But so come on, Florida is the only state where more people are dying of COVID than ever before. So we've got COVID going up in Texas, Republican state at the moment.
Doesn't matter.
And then we've got...
Yeah, I feel like you keep bringing up this, like, the whole party problem.
Because I think it is a problem.
But
I think it is. I think
it's
it is
a problem because we're making it a party problem. It's a people problem.
But it goes back to the whole thing of freedom. It goes. Is it really a freedom issue to wear a mask?
Look, these people in Florida want the freedom to die to COVID. There's a lot of videos that's coming out.
That's sad.
Of people dying they're literally in the ICU on the oxygen mask, and they still say that they prefer not to take the vaccine.
I know.
Absolutely.
But do you know the people that I feel sorry for? There's two groups of people I feel sorry with that.
Who?
The police and the nurses. And the doctors.
You feel sorry for them?
Yeah.
I have one that's even greater concern. How about the people that clean up the hospital?
No, I agree with that as well.
And get rid of all of those
Absolutely.
things. Those guys that serve in that capacity,
I really feel that, I understand.
See that video?
I understand people's freedoms and their right not to wear a mask. But, there was a guy in Louisiana that had COVID for 11 months and he still refused to have the vaccine.
He had it for 11 months?
Yeah. And he still refused the vaccine.
Didn't come in? Goes up here.
There's actually a guy who rode on his bike with his wife, and they both had COVID, and they rode across the country. And they were...
Really?
No. When I went across to the UK, I had, because my mother's in an old folks home, we had 17 times up my nose doing COVID tests in 12 days.
That's a lot of COVID tests, man.
Sometimes 2 a day.
That
because
is a lot.
to go in the hospitals, it's a completely different level.
That is a lot, sir. I was trying to find this video, man.
And in Europe now, because of all the COVID tests, they do a lot more testing than they have. There's some bars now when you can go in without a mask, and apparently it is starting to drop again. But did you notice a lot of the countries that were dropping, like New Zealand, South Korea, they're all starting to go up again now? Have you noticed that? Their percentages are starting to go up. New Zealand was one of the lowest. South Korea was low. And a lot of them countries that went down are now starting to rise again.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You know why?
I don't.
The vaccinations have COVID in them. So if they're testing after these people get vaccinated,
that's how the vaccines work, isn't it?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like if you're going to give me a test after I get vaccinated, yeah, it's probably going to show that I've got COVID in because that's what the vaccine is.
And then it's a natural progression of a virus to fight the resistance that's being put out there for that virus, and that's where the Delta virus has come in, I've been told.
Yeah. You got to believe everything that we're told. It's compressing back, I don't know how long it takes.
And then can we get on to the serious stuff?
It's only 50 minutes. 50 seconds.
Can we get on to the serious stuff?
Serious stuff?
Yeah.
What, lotto numbers for tomorrow?
No, Krispy Kreme donuts are giving 2 free donuts away to all Americans that have received the first vaccination shot.
Man, what kind of foolishness?
And bring a valid vaccination card.
If they would have said 3, I would have been there.
What day is this? What day is this happening?
Well, you got to be there?
No, I might get free donuts for everybody for my office.
Hey, man.
Well, 2 free donuts anyway.
At least 2. If they would have offered 3, man, I'd have been all for it. But, can't have just 2.
When is this? There's no date on it. I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves.
I don't know if it's a running date or if they're just going to do it if you just show that you have it.
Well, I've been vaccinated.
August 30th.
Okay. There you go.
There you go.
The 30th to the 5th.
We need to arrange a training at the office.
Yes.
And then we'll have 2 free donuts and we'll share them between everybody.
2 free donuts with proof of vaccine. So if proof, is that like a picture?
No, your vaccination card.
Oh, well, what if I don't want to show that? That's
So you
kind
have
of
to bring the syringe.
there you go. Before you know it, they'll be giving shots at these restaurants, man, for you to do it. That's crazy. That is crazy. But, oh, well, it is what it is.
And then, I know you recently, to fly, do you have to have insurance?
So Yes. So
because in England we didn't need insurance.
So it depends.
But I did look at the insurance.
It depends on the country you go to. So when we went to Costa Rica, we had to have insurance for each day we were there, and then insurance for a COVID stay if there was an infection that took place. So if we, got sick and we had to stay, you had to have a policy that would cover you for a COVID stay for up to 14 days.
Was it expensive?
Well, I guess it's all relative. You think about it. So it was it probably ran us as a family. We probably paid for their 6 days, I believe, and it probably cost an additional $400 for the insurance part.
Because I was surprised when I went to England that that we didn't need health insurance. I mean, health insurance is not free in England, regardless of what people say.
Right.
Emergency care is, but I mean, my mom's in a daycare which is costing $30,000 a month. Only because I wanted to stay in Buckingham Palace and I don't want it to stay in, in a government chosen.
You love your mom, man. You take care of her.
Oh, she's earned it. She deserves it.
Absolutely. I don't blame you on that one.
So.
Delta is raising their health insurance.
I see that.
By $200.
So that's going to hit some folks in the pocket, man.
That's if you're unvaccinated.
Yeah.
So it's more of an incentive.
Get your vaccinated. That is.
Did you have any side effects when you got vaccinated?
Yeah, I was pretty out of it.
Really? I didn't really feel that. I guess I'm always out of it, but I didn't really feel that there was any side effect.
Man, I really want to share this video with you. No, it's so I had this in the screen recording it because, of course, you know how that goes. They'll take a video down and you never see it in life again.
Yeah.
So I screen recorded it and sent it to myself. And maybe
do you want to?
I'm going to send it to you and just leave it there.
While he's sorting there, do you want to talk about conservative hoaxers?
Who?
Conservative hoaxers face $5.1 million fine for election robocalls.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty interesting story, actually, Jack. Associated Press.
Where'd you get that one, man?
I didn't put it in the thing because.
Oh, you might be looking at the.
He's looking
links.
at the link.
It's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, you are looking at the links. So we can stay on. What is it about? Tell us about it, because I don't know.
Conservative hoaxers face $5.1 million fine for election robocalls. Lansing, Michigan, 2 conservative hoaxers face a record $5.1 million fine for allegedly making illegal robocalls to wireless phones without the owner's consent in the 2020 election. The Federal Communications Commission said Tuesday that the proposed fine for Jacob Wohl and Jack Berkman and Berkman's lobbying firm would be the largest ever.
So the FCC is issuing this fine, I'm guessing, with these guys. We get this crap all the time. I get robocalls all the time.
It drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me nuts.
Folks made $85,000 is a lot, but I mean, still, I get these calls all the time. You thinking I just got one a minute ago, spam risk, that I thought was real, and I had to send it to voicemail, of course. But yeah, that
I had one yesterday, and somebody turned around and says, "Mr. Williams, are you interested in selling your house?" Well, we've got a number of houses that we manage, and I said, "Well, if you find a house, just let me know, and we'll buy it."
I'll tell you, I've gotten one here as of late that I'm not too pleased about. ARP. Not a retired person, not yet.
Yeah, but they now reckon that you should do that earlier than younger. That's their latest.
Well, that's the latest thing, I guess, huh? But I've been getting him as of late. Social Security, IRS, all of that.
I like it when you get the IRS call me. What's your name? Tinkerbell.
Because of course we all know the IRS calls their people. They call everybody.
Just to everybody, if it's ever the IRS, they will never, ever, ever call you. Just tell them your name's Tinkerbell.
I sent it to your phone, Jack. I didn't know if you could figure out a way to get it in there if it went.
Do you think with Delta Airlines, do you feel as if they will be the first airline to increase the rates?
Oh no! So United Airlines is forcing their employees to get actually vaccinated and upload proof that they've gotten vaccinated.
There's a lot of companies now that are introducing it. Now the Pfizer's been
FDA approved.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, companies are doing that. I think it's shaky ground though, man. I mean, when you get to the point to where you are requiring someone to take a vaccine,
do you think
it's shaky ground?
Do you think corporations have any liability if somebody catches COVID in their organization?
Well, here's the deal. The whole thing with this, and you have to sign off some kind of, I think it was some kind of waiver or something because of the short window that it's been, that you can't, there's something out there that you can't come back and sue or something along those, but that doesn't exclude that they could be sued and there be some liability. I would think, yes, if you force someone to do something and something happens to them, I would say, yeah, there's absolutely a possibility that there could be an issue or there's some liability on you.
That's what sort of worries me from, an owner of Century 21 Olympian, is that, is there any, if somebody catches COVID and then leads to their family and it goes to their family, is there any sort of liability on us? Is there any responsibility on us
I think
as a business owner?
Oh, there we go. So let me preface this video. Because again, I am, just so everyone knows, I am not anti-vaccine for anyone.
You just won't take the vaccine.
At this juncture, my decision has been not yet. That's how me and my family are prayed about it.
There's room to change.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because I was vaccinated as a kid, so absolutely, there's a possibility, in the future for whatever, rubella, mumps, measles, all that, chickenpox, all that good jazz. But as for now, we've decided
I promise not to use my dirty talk. Okay.
We're not going to do it because they're pressing way too hard for it and offering compensation. But this is where a lot of the confusion comes in, because you got videos like this that are floating around, and this is what your favorite lady said last year.
Cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do. It is a matter of privacy to know who is or who isn't. I can't go to the Capitol physician and say, give me the names of people who aren't vaccinated so I can go encourage them to, or make it known to others to encourage them to be vaccinated. So we can't do that. We can.
So what? What does that prove?
It doesn't prove anything. But now we're in a completely different position.
Absolutely, we're in a
different. They're being required to do it, and it's a matter of, okay, well, who do you believe? What do you go with? And there was a lot. There's a longer clip too, where it's a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I don't trust it. I'm not going to do it." Kamala Harris, a lot of them were talking against the vaccine, but now they're on the flip side of it, and it's confusing when you're looking towards your leaders for direction, so to speak. So I think we've kind of created our own problems, and the fact that we make it a party issue, I think that's the worst thing we can do. It's just like, hey man, get the vaccine if you want to get the vaccine. If you don't want to get it, don't get it, but don't judge me because I decide not to. Wear a freaking mask to try to keep everybody safe, social distance, and make it a people thing versus a party thing.
Yeah, I'll sort of go along with that.
Yeah, like this shouldn't be it should provide the make them want to.
Hey, this is why you really should do it, guys. I mean, if you're looking at the statistics, this is why you should do it. I mean, but you're making a lotto, you're giving away donuts and money.
One of the issues with exactly what you said is all the BS that you've got out there and the conspiracy theories.
Well, BS, which starts at the top.
And that's, I don't know if that starts at the top, but I mean, there's different organizations at the moment that are basically pushing You know, what do they say? There's some woman out there at the moment saying, "Oh, when you get vaccinated, it's magnetic."
What?
You haven't seen that clip? Really?
Yeah.
Magnetic?
Yeah, she's like in a like a Congress hall. They're doing an actual hearing.
Okay.
And she's like sticking, I don't know if it's a quarter or it was her hairpin, like putting it on her forehead.
And it sticks on her forehead.
Sticks, and then she's like, now explain it. But it's like 100% serious. Like she's yelling at the top of her lungs. Funny.
Really?
Yeah, she says when you get vaccinated.
So she took the vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the vaccine's magnetic because I've got a coin that sticks onto my forehead.
Yeah, ever since I got my vaccine, I've had great reception on my phone. Haven't lost it.
Oh, maybe it is magnetic.
I drove all the way to the center of Texas. I still have 5G.
Oh my goodness, man, that is crazy. That is,
and that's what I'm saying. It's like some of the stuff that and you're probably gonna like. But I just like watching. Was it Jordan Clapper? He met some of the people that he met, on the Trump rallies, and he met with them again. And he's actually got some really good relationships with some of them, and it was actually fun to see, to make people realise that they can have their differences, but they can still, respect one another for it. It was actually
yeah. So I'll find the longer video and share it with you guys, but that part was just kind of interesting to me. But
yeah,
anywho,
so tell us about the market, James. What's happening in the real estate world?
Well, excuse me, it's still hot, man. I think we're probably seeing some leveling out as far as inventory goes for us. It's still kind of short, but interest rates have been where they are, and they're probably going to stay low through the end of the year.
When you say low, what do you think it'll probably be?
Well, I mean, you can get anything. I mean, depending on where your credit is, man, you can get in the mid to high 2s on a 30-year note. Even someone with not so great credit can get in the low 3s, 3.5 or so. Anything below 4% is a great interest rate these days. But still,
how about investment properties? What are they looking for investment properties now as a down payment?
Well, see, here's the thing with investment properties. They're different as far as pricing goes, because for one, they're more risky, so the pricing is going to be higher. So, and then of course the loan to value will be 80% or lower. So you may end up paying on an investment property 3.5, 3 7/8 or so on perfect credit. If the credit is not so great, you may be in the 4s, or even low 5s, depending on where you fall. But still good. Rates are still great, even at a 5%. The problem now is, which I've said this many times, people that are buying homes now have never seen interest rates above 5%. They've just never experienced that. So it's
going to be a bit
blowing their minds, because it's at that point.
And it's going to be a problem when the rates start to go up again.
Oh yeah, for sure. It'll definitely be a problem, because prices are higher for homes. And if interest rates start to go up, it'll be equally as difficult to even to qualify for a mortgage. But there'll still be some people that'll be able to buy. Just may not be able to get what you were able to get 2 years ago. So I say, if you're looking at buying or even refinancing, the time is now. Don't wait. There is no, I want to wait for it to get down.
We're the typical example. I mean, there's a lot of people now that what they're doing is, rather than buying a new house, they're keeping the house, and they're rehabbing it, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are doing that now. We're in the process of doing that. This OnlyFans reverses discussion to sexually explicit content after that.
We're moving, or if we're moving to that, this platform, I've never been on this platform personally, but I do know that it's new to the social media world, and you have these Instagram models, I would say, that have been going on this OnlyFans platform and doing basically a peek behind the curtain of their lives, and they do explicit videos where you can see whatever. You can pay to kind of have your one-on-one sessions with them. Basically, these online prostitution, for lack of better terms, where you can kind of see all of this stuff. Well, they had said that they were going to stop the sexually explicit activities on the website. But apparently there's more people. I guess the masses dictate the movement. So they had some backlash from some of these online servicers, and
so what had happened?
Reversed.
You're right when you say that's what the website was started off as, like a Patreon type of system where you have an audience and you want to basically charge them for premium content. For example, if you have like a stock trading group, pay $10 a month and you can get into I'll send you basically all the trades that I'm doing, yada, yada, yada. But the porn industry, which is notorious for being very high on tech.
They're usually in front.
Adapted very quickly. And so very, very quickly, this app, it's not even an app, it's a website, just took over that sort of the business. And then OnlyFans decided to partner with Visa to manage their transactions. And Visa said, if you're going to partner with us and we facilitate that, you have to get rid of certain stuff. And there was like certain categories of porn that they wanted to remove. So that's what ended up, they came out with that statement, and my entire Twitter feed was going crazy. They're like, no one cares about sex workers. This is like, everybody just leaves us and bans us, because like there's a number of people, even on Instagram, like they'll just post and then they'll get banned just because of what they do.
Right.
It's not even sexually explicit content that they're posting. Those get banned. And so after all that, for like a week, they took back what they said. And so they're reversing their change. So they're not doing it anymore.
So I'm assuming they're not partnering with Visa, or
no, they are.
They are still going to do it.
And Visa said, so I think OnlyFans was just trying to kind of clear the slate a little bit, and put it on Visa. And then Visa was like, no, that wasn't us. Like we didn't say that. And so they had to like cover their bases a little.
Well, you know my thoughts on that the sex working industry is something that I don't think will go away at all. It's there. It's not a platform that I partake in, but I know that people do. And I say let them do their business and tax them, and let's fix these roads and get people to the polls and vote and all that good jazz, as I always say.
The one thing I've heard about this website too is even if you don't support sex work, we all support them being able to do it safely.
Right.
And so this is a means of doing it safely. So I'll
absolutely and tax it as well. It makes some money.
And
there you go.
And it's because it's all computer run, auto generates your 1099, so they all pay their tax. Now, if they file it, that's a different story, but they do their due diligence in providing the documents to make sure you can take care of your taxes and all that. So it's when you sign up for this, you're basically signing up for a brokerage account. Because you have to submit ID, they approve it, you have to send in your address.
So it's a legitimate business. I guess you're actually running.
$1 billion evaluation is what they're going for.
Now what it has done is it's turned some people into, I guess some of these Instagram models, and they're making all this money, and you got a whole new class of folks that are hitting into this, millionaire type status because they're making all this money on OnlyFans. Shoot, I mean, they got anything against fat people? I mean, I might get on there and get me some money going. Everybody got different kinds of fetishes. I can get on and talk about mortgage interest rates, and I could take my shirt off. That's about as far as I can go. My wife probably wouldn't have it though. She would be my only fan.
My only fan. Yeah, but
absolutely.
Her name's Corinna.
Corinna, okay.
Yeah, she made $1 million on her first
48 hours. Now, I'm assuming she was already in the industry?
No.
Oh, really?
So she is just a popular social influencer that like the entire world thinks is pretty, to be honest. She posts like lewd photos, like bikini photos.
Okay.
But nothing sexually like behind the curtain, so to say. Like only thing she had was her Instagram post, her in bikini, like on yachts and stuff. And then decided to say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start OnlyFans. And so made her $1 million just in the first 48 hours.
Wow.
A lot of money in the world.
That is, man, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Golly. What you think, Steve? Have you even heard of OnlyFans?
I've never ever heard of it.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
This is the last one, huh?
Oh, yeah. So this is a story that has, it's not new, but Maria Taylor is a black lady who is on ESPN. Very pretty lady. She was actually on with during the NBA Finals and so on and so forth. And Rachel Nichols has been on ESPN as well, and she was overheard or recorded. I don't know who recorded it. She made a comment about Maria Taylor basically getting one of the jobs that might have been assigned to her. And it was a flippant kind of comment where she kind of said something about, hey, don't, just because of your poor diversity, training your diversity guidelines or tactics or whatever, don't put her on my stuff. Not in my world, basically. Meaning, I wish her all the success, but just find it somewhere else. You're not going to, find it from me or take anything away from me. And that was recorded. That video that was recorded in a hotel room got back to the press. So they ended up removing Rachel Nichols from covering the NBA Finals and putting in Maria Taylor, who has since left ESPN and went to go to, I think, NBC. So she got elevated to another, I think it was NBC. But nevertheless, I don't know if this is fallout from all of that time together, but she was tied to that initial thing because people were calling it a racist kind of statement because, she's down talking this young, black woman who's been, started in basically where she started. She's much older than Maria. And now here it is.
She don't look African American.
No, this lady isn't. Maria Taylor is who she was talking about. She's a sports analyst. There she is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now she's a sportscaster for NBC. She's left ESPN, and now she's a sportscaster at the network, the big guys. And here it is. Rachel Nichols is kind of falling off. So they've taken her off her show that she had called the Rumble or Rebound or something like that. And so she's no longer in there. But I think she still has a contract with them, so they got to pay her. But she's just not going to be in the front on ESPN. And that's one of those situations where you got to watch what you say, man.
Yep.
Who knows what you say? You can't talk about grabbing people by the private parts. You can't talk about diversity, folks in jobs and all that stuff. Be careful what you say. You never know who's recording, who's saying what, because you could end up in this position.
A lot depends on obviously where you are on the public ladder. If you want, that's what you live in. Comes with the landscape, if you.
It does. You're right about that. You're right about that.
I mean, everybody should watch what you say, but the truth of the matter is sort of, the more you go up the ladder and the more you share the public light, then the more important it is. But I mean, we all need a more diverse society.
I agree with you, sir. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, cool. That's been I think we hit.
There's more.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah.
What? He flipped on Trump?
Yes.
What? Well, he flips on everybody. So
they were best buddies at one point. But apparently, far-right radio host, prolific theorist Alex Jones turned on Donald Trump after the former president said he'd been vaccinated against COVID. Now, remember you said that this isn't a political thing, all right, against COVID-19, and encouraged his supporters to do the same. At a rally Saturday night in Cullum, Alabama, Trump was booed after telling the followers the vaccine worked. I believe totally in your freedoms. I do. You got to do what you have to do, but I recommend that the vaccines I did, it's good, he said. Now, in all fairness to Mr. Trump, I agree with him.
That's what it should be. It should be your freedoms. I recommend that you do it. And quite frankly, this juxtaposition to how we're dealing with it as just regular citizens with each other, and him with Trump.
So how
it's a position to where it shouldn't be, oh, I'm not supporting you because you said that you want to go and do the vaccine, if it's a personal choice.
So how do you feel about people ripping masks off one another? Just being on TV recently.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. People being ripping masks off one another. You shouldn't have to wear a mask.
I think that's assault, isn't it?
Should be.
You rip anything off of anyone, that should be considered assault. That's not cool. Yeah, that's I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Alex Jones, I know he's been banned from YouTube and a couple other different places. Yeah, but he's a bit of a radical, as people describe him. But I don't know. I think the responsible thing for President Trump is to have that position with it. Like, listen, I'm not against your freedoms. I recommend that you do it. Blah blah blah. That is what it is. So it's crazy.
You all seen his store before?
Oh yeah. So there's InfoWars. I follow a couple of people on YouTube that are part of it.
Link.
A couple of folks that I follow on there that talk about the store. Yeah. Oh, that's the ripping off. Hey, why is everything happening here, man? Come on, Texas. What are we doing?
Small world.
What are we doing out here? What part of Texas? I bet it's up near Dallas.
Yeah, I was Dallas.
Eames Independent School District. Where is that? Let me look it up. Please be about Dallas.
Hey, we know it's not in Houston.
Yeah, and hold on.
Right.
Can you go up a little bit, Jack? Hold on. It says
Travis
Governor
County?
Graham
That's awesome.
executive order banning mask mandates has faced resistance from municipalities and some school districts in the state. Leonard's statement came on the same day Abbott's spokesman announced the government had tested positive for coronavirus.
Excuse me.
So if it wasn't a party issue, why is he banning mask updates?
Who knows? This is actually west of Austin, it looks like.
So that makes it right?
No, I'm just making sure that it's not here. It is not here. But yeah, it's foolish.
Parents in one Texas district ripped off a teacher's face mask and demanded another educator remove hers, according to the school systems.
I don't know, man. I mean, you can agree or disagree, but when you go to the level of you're ripping things off, I mean, if I want to wear a mask, let me wear my mask. Period.
And that's the part of the problem at the moment. There's so many unknowns with the whole thing.
Really? I don't think there is.
Well, there is when you get all the conspiracy theories, and I just think it adds to the confusion.
Well, it can, but...
So you have to be the one who decides to listen to the conspiracy theory for
Exactly.
it
That's a choice.
to work.
Exactly. That's a choice
And
for
for
that.
some people, it's working very, very well. Jack, can you go to the Fed report? Most rental assistance has still not gone out. I just want to sort of make a comment on that. We're still waiting. See this Fed's report, most rental assistance has still not gone out. We have one of our clients where one of our landlords that we manage the properties for has been waiting for 11 months 11 months of rental. In the meantime, he's been hit for property taxes, property taxes, HOA fees, which is $575 a month. And it's just builds,
it's unfair. So I was talking to a colleague of mine yesterday, and he mentioned that an individual was complaining that their home that was leased out, that they have not been collecting rent on, had been leased out by the tenant, and the tenant was collecting rent but not paying him.
He needs to get a...
What kind of crazy backhanded food? I think that's criminal.
It is.
It
is criminal because the lease for the owner, the lease should be between the owner
and the tenant.
So
they're subleasing it and collecting money.
If the lease is done properly, if the lease has been done properly, then he'll be fine. But the problem is, a lot of people do it yourself. They don't understand the ins and the outs of the leasing, and that's where the problems start. That's why I think it's so important to use an agent or to seek the advice of a real estate attorney.
Absolutely. I just think that is a
and a new problem today, to be perfectly honest, is a lot of our communities that we manage at the moment, they're trying to outlaw Airbnbs. Airbnb is becoming a problem. It really is.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because the problem is with it, you don't know who's going in. You don't know whether it's, a serious criminal that's going there and staying for a couple of days. You don't know if anything's going to spark off. It's very, very difficult.
I think
so. A lot of landlords are still waiting for that rental assistance.
They are, and they're probably looking at extending it too.
Yeah. They're still doing evictions in Harris County.
I know you've got properties around. All your tenants paying still?
Out of, let me see, we've probably got we've got a lot of doors, but probably out of all of them, we've probably got maybe 10 or 11.
Okay.
Which is a problem at the moment.
Right. In the grand scheme of things, you think about that on a monthly
But Harris
basis.
County, you can evict. You can at the moment. They're evicting. But the disappointing part to me is that I'm all for giving people financial help. But some of the people who are requesting financial help were behind before COVID. And to me, that should be a disqualification of any help. They was behind before the COVID.
So this circumstance didn't have any.
And then now they're using COVID as a means to catch up. And they're very educated on doing that. To me, that should, if they're behind, they was behind before the COVID determination was made. And my belief is that they shouldn't qualify
for the assistance. Yeah. I don't disagree with you. But I think that's where our inventory problem will kind of start to right.
I think it'll flatten off. I really can't. I can't see it getting to the point where it's going to right itself and everybody says it's going to crash. I don't think it's. But back to my original question, that have got distracted from it. So if an investor's coming in and wants to buy investment properties, at one time they could do up to 10 properties. Okay, that's correct.
10 properties. It was 10 mortgages.
10 mortgages. Yeah. Is that still the case, or did they pull that?
No, that's the case.
So an investor can still go up to 10 investment properties.
Correct.
And after that, it has to be a non-warrantable loan?
Well, there are some products that are available in non-QM stuff that will allow you to go above the 10, where some folks can kind of get away with that. As long as the mortgage is not mortgages. Because sometimes these guys own them free and clear, but it's not necessarily all with mortgages.
Okay, so if an investor has bought a property from another investor on an owner finance deal, and they've got equity in that, can they then refinance it because they've got the equity in, or do they still have to come up and show funds?
Or if it's owner finance and it's truly owner finance where it's been transferred to the new owner's name and they're entitled, then yeah, you can refinance that.
And how much as a percentage do they need? 20%, 30%?
Typically 20% what you can anticipate, maybe 25 in that refinance situation. But the idea is that in a refinance position that you have enough equity that won't be a problem. So you're not really coming out a lot of money out of pocket.
So you need to get it to 20-30% in equity.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're comfortably there, then you more than likely do it.
And credit score, it still needs the regular credit score?
Credit score, yeah. Normally, because it's a conventional loan.
Or does it go on the mathematics of the property?
Well, because it's a conventional loan, you have to be at least a 620. But in those situations, if you're not like in that 660, 680 range, sometimes it can be tougher. So the closer to 700 you are, the better it'll be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And what's your, there's talk about Congress doing away with credit scores. What's your sort of feeling on that? To me, I think
Congress needs to stay in their lane. That's stupid. I think that's ridiculous. How do you know? How can you judge? What are they going to assign then if they don't?
Because you don't use the credit score anyway, do you? You use another score.
Well, we use a credit score. It's a FICO score, but that's been.
But isn't there another one for loan officers that they use? That's.
And we use a FICO score, just the regular FICO score. Yeah, that's been the standard for the industry years. Now they have different models, Advantage scores,
Vantage scores. That's the what I was.
Advantage Plus and all that kind of stuff. But those, you got your credit cards and.
But the Vantage scores is not completely the same.
It is not the same.
Right, that's what I was. But so some lenders use the Vantage score and some lenders use the FICO
score is what we use.
From all three credit unions.
For the mortgage industry.
What are the circumstances where a lender might use the Vantage score then?
We don't. We use a FICO score.
Okay.
Yeah, we use a FICO score. That's the standard for a mortgage.
Is there different companies that'll use the Vantage score?
There's companies that may use it, but for mortgage qualifying purposes, it's a FICO score.
So what are the circumstances? When would they use a Vantage score? Who would use it?
Any other lender outside of mortgage can use that model if they want to. It all depends on what they're using. So like for auto loans or credit cards, they may use something, a Vantage score, so to speak, for qualifying, but for us, a FICO score is what we use.
Okay. Alrighty.
Cool.
That's interesting.
Good discussion, man. Good discussion.
And then, James, if you'd like to announce to everybody what we're moving the
yes,
podcast.
I know we've been doing these on Thursdays, beginning our live stream at 10. We will be moving this to Wednesday. There's a commitment that I've been missing out on that I want to get back into. So we're just going to be moving it a day earlier. So it'll be on Wednesdays, middle of the week, to kind of give you your information. So just expect to see us, same channel, same time at 10 a.m. And if you have questions, reach out to us. You got our information down in the description below. If you're looking to become a real estate agent, you can reach out to Steve. If you're looking to be a loan officer, or if you need mortgage help, reach out to me. We appreciate you guys joining us at the table.
Yeah. Send us a message on Instagram and let's connect. Okay.
Absolutely.
Take it easy. Have a good week, guys.